Hello, this is Bad Vibes. Today's video is on Lyft and Uber rides. I was trying to stack up as many stories as possible, but unfortunately, I only have 3 short ones, so I decided to just do them now. So this video is going to be a tad short, but I hope you enjoy it regardless. And sit back, relax, and enjoy. I'm a 25-year-old female. A couple months ago, I had to take a Lyft. Normally it's uneventful, but I'm always on my guard and aware that this is a stranger nonetheless. The Lyft arrives, I get in. I get kind of weird vibes. I asked, "Is this Matt?" And he said yes. Description matches, etc. He kind of turns around and gives me a once over. He seems like an awkward type in his mid-20s, so I let it go. And then he looks forward again and begins the ride. I notice a very creepy audiobook is playing. I think to myself how this is really bad social etiquette not to ask if I want to change it. I don't like scary anything, so I'm annoyed and a bit nervous because the narration and words are very eerie. It's describing dying, feeling like you're in a black hole, sinking, gore too. We continue down residentials and I notice he's driving erratically. He'll slow down a whole bunch, almost like he's nodding off mid-drive. And I start internally freaking out. We're halfway into the ride, and he's purposely avoiding eye contact through the rearview mirror. He keeps looking around near his seat for things that aren't there. He seems nervous and jumpy, but also nodding off as if he's extremely tired or more likely on drugs. It's only a 12-minute drive at this point. I don't know the neighborhood, so I don't want to ask him just to drop me off there. So we proceed onto the freeway. The audiobook is still playing. I get a chance to see the title and Google it. It's some incredibly dark horror sci-fi film from the 1990s that I've never heard of. He continues to look for things that aren't there, avoiding eye contact, slowing down when he shouldn't. I really don't want him to drop me off now because we're passing by industrial areas. And I'm in a skirt, makeup, etc. It's sundown. It somehow seems safer to be in the car. I decide to just sit up more, keep an eye on the road since he obviously isn't, and clear my throat every couple of minutes to remind him, "Yo, I'm here, don't die or sleep or whatever on me." At one point, he gets off at the wrong exit. I don't know if it was on purpose and he had a weird plan, also industrial area, but I finally speak up and say, "That's not the exit," pretty firmly, and he straightens up, doesn't say anything, and eventually gets me to my destination safely. It wouldn't have been so creepy if not for the audiobook. I don't know why anyone in their right mind would play something like that in a Lyft while not talking to the passenger and being uber weird. The whole thing still gives me the willies, and I gave him a 1 star, and hope he gets some help and never does that again. I used to work overnight and get off around 7 a.m. One Sunday morning, fresh from work and exhausted, I missed the connecting bus home and called an Uber to pick me up at the bus stop. At this point, it was already around 8. It was a warm summer day, the sun was bright in the sky. Normal amount of foot traffic in a generally safe neighborhood. The app tells me that someone will be picking me up. Location shows them about 2 blocks away. 5 minutes go by. No movement on their end. 10 minutes, no movement. I know sometimes drivers do this to collect a cancellation fee, but I was still feeling a little hopeful. 2 minutes go by and the car pulls up. I thought maybe the app was just lagging on her location. There's a man driving, tells me he's my Uber, and asks me for the address of where I'm going. I tell him it's in the app. He shows me the screen on his phone. It's on a rider app with no rides requested. He reaffirms that he's my Uber driver and asks me for the address, pushing open the passenger door for me. I'm so tired at this point that my brain is broken. I put one leg in the car and something feels off. I recheck my phone. I'm supposed to have a female driver. It still shows her as 2 blocks away. I tell him that he's not my ride. "Oh, you called a Lyft?" he says and drives off quickly. I shudder to think of what would have happened if I had gotten into that ride. I contacted Uber customer support. They said that they were sorry that my ride never came, but didn't care about the rest of the incident, let alone the other questions it raised. Like, how did you know I called an Uber when I was standing there at a clearly marked bus stop, scrolling through Facebook on my phone? I used Lyft exclusively for months after that, and still check the driver's profile before I get within 3 feet of the ride. I drive Uber a couple hours a week to earn some extra cash, pay for my car insurance, etc. I'm not a big drinker, so it always works out well for me when I go out with my friends late at night. I get to go out and hang out for a bit and earn some extra cash on the return trips home. One thing to keep in mind is that the Uber app does not tell you where your expected destination of the trip is before you accept it. So if someone is requesting to be dropped off in an extremely sketchy area, you have no idea until you've already accepted the trip and the person is literally in your backseat of your car. Super shady, and in my opinion, it should be illegal for Uber to do that, but I digress. I was driving home in this exact scenario, and I had dropped off a couple people already, when I saw someone requested a ride about 5 minutes away. I decided I would pick up this guy and then head home. Unfortunately, the pickup location for this gentleman was in a not so nice part of town. When I pulled up, the guy was not waiting outside, which I was mildly annoyed about. But as I looked around this sketchy apartment complex, I figured I couldn't blame him for not wanting to stand out there, out in the open. Finally, after about 5 minutes and a late fee later, the guy finally comes out and hops in the back seat. He's an African American gentleman that looked to be near my age. "Where are you headed?" I asked. "Post office," he muttered back to me. This instantly made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Why would someone be going to the post office at 1 a.m.? To my knowledge, no one worked the night shift at a post office. I decided to not ask any questions and commenced the trip, which was about 10 minutes away. The post office was on the eastern part of the city and is situated in a rather desolate part of town. Absolutely nobody other than myself and this guy were still out, judging by the look of the street. Finally, I pull up to the drive of the post office, which was tucked away in an area located by what appeared to be a large abandoned factory, and I began to get worried. The entire complex was a large cement building with about a half a football field of a driveway to the factory next door. Even though only the moonlight was the sole source of light for me to see, I could make out the shape of 4 shady silhouettes at the end of the drive. It looked like they were just standing there waiting for the passenger in my car. "That it is," I said. "You can drop me off here," he responded, and got out of the car and began walking towards the 4 associates. I have no idea what he was doing that night, but I don't think he was mailing a letter. Another Uber experience. I was driving downtown. At this time, I got a call from a younger man near my age. I drove to the location and parked my car next to a dilapidated bridge. I didn't see anyone waiting for an Uber and waited a couple seconds until I received a phone call from this guy who ordered the Uber. He explained that it wasn't for him, but for his friends. I didn't like the sound of that, and something about the situation made me nervous. At times, I might be overly cautious, but I've learned to always trust my gut. "I don't see your friends," I told him. The guy started describing them to me. They were 2 shaggy-looking men with bushy beards, he said. I started scanning around the area, trying to determine if I could see anyone that matched that description, and didn't see anyone. Nervous, I took my car to the park and started pulling away from the curb, with the idea that it would be best to just leave. Suddenly, as I was driving away, I saw the movement out of the corner of my eye. 2 hobos with long beards and ripped clothing emerged from under the bridge and walked towards my car. I instantly booked it and canceled the ride. I realized that it was probably just some guy trying to help out a couple homeless people to get where they needed to go, but the situation absolutely seemed off to me, and I have no idea if the guys were on drugs, etc. I don't regret canceling that ride at all. Not the creepiest experiences as far as some of the ones I've read on the sub, but 2 times that something seemed a tad off to me.